OG Foundation, capital of the sovereign state of Lodium. I'm your host, Sovereign Non of Lodium, and this is episode 10 of this season's 24 episode weekly campaign extravaganza. Let me turn this around for you. So last week I was thinking that I would be focusing on the walls up top, getting higher, but instead I spent at least half of the week on these stairs, and this is the first time walking on stairs 2 and 3. Oh yeah, they didn't fall. Good. Holding my weight. That's what they need to do. So these stairs are all good. They've got several different coats, so you can't quite see with the light. But this week I gotta work on these stairs. So I'll probably do 2, maybe I'll add a 3rd stair higher up and see about finishing the staircase. And then I will be doing metal work up top on walls and stuff. And I'll give you one more shot of a new feature that I started last week. So I started reinforcing around this hole last week. And so I just got a first batch on this kind of 1 foot extension of the arch, which will be really good for bearing weight and connecting the 2 kind of arches better. And there will be a drain in the bottom here, which I think will go through to the far side. So I'm going to probably have to add a couple inches more of concrete in the bottom of this. And then I put in this little mini arch to cover up this space. This is going to be like a little secret nook tunnel type thing, where you could kind of like put pillows in here and crawl in here and read a book or something. And then it should have a little doorway as kind of like almost like a fire escape to get out and get onto the roof or something like that. But I got one strip of mortar on that, so that's pretty solid now. And so I can add mortar, get that arch all mortared in. I'll bend this back to try to maximize the space that you can kind of crawl through to get up here. And then at some point I'll probably do a similar type of arch on that side, though that's not exactly where that's going to be. But I might get to that this week, as well as working on the walls and maybe starting to figure out the dome type shape. Kind of feeling that today after some early morning mortar. So that's the state of everything. And yeah, I'll give you updates. And here's what the top of the Molly Stark Tower looks like at the start of the week. So there's only one, like kind of 2 little tall metal things there. And I've just got 2 batches on this countertop here. And there's kind of the 3 openings roughed in there. So I've got to extend these walls, which have forms on the back you can't see. I've got to pull those and do them. And then figure out the arch for the dome, the metalwork for the dome, and how this will all tie together. I don't actually know how it will all look. My goal is to start with this arch. This is the biggest opening. There's going to be a glass door in there, and so I'm going to arch that with rebar to start, and then lath and basically work off of that to then figure out how the rest of the dome, the height of the rest of the dome, because it's got to tie in basically level with the top of the arch between those pieces of rebar. And the rest of this I don't really know how it'll look at all, but it's like that's the design process. It's like I know the next step, and from that step I can figure out the other steps. But otherwise I don't know how this is all going to go, other than I want to figure out some sort of staircase to get onto the roof, which will only be accessible from the tower here. And I kind of want to have enough room to have like something above this window layer here, because like the bed will probably go here, and then it would be nice to have some kind of like lofted office space type something. I don't know exactly, but we'll see how far things get this week. But here's the starting point. So everything's just kind of at a similar type height around here right now, except for those 2. And here's the view from standing up on the counter where this glass door is going to be. And so the idea is that the door is going to open and it'll swing out, or maybe in, I don't know, but it'll open here. And I might kind of make a little porch type thing out here. Like I might send a piece of rebar out and then around like that as like a little thing you can step out on, as well as a little roof in this arch thing to kind of give that a little cover. It'll disrupt the overall shape of everything, but it'll be good. in the end. So here, you see these two pieces of rebar? I put those in to eventually connect, to make an arch over this gateway and to connect to this. I guess you can't really see it so well, but there's a cement column over there. So the idea being that when that arch connects to that cement column over there, this walkway from this door will be like a rampart, which will go that way in an arch over the gate. That probably won't get built this year, but that's kind of all an integrated idea of why you would have a door up here and how that door would turn into kind of like a walkway type thing. But I just wanted to kind of give you that shot for now, and you can think about it for future. Might not even be this season, I don't know, but that's part of the reason why I'm putting this door here. I guess the main reason, probably. So as soon as I finished laying down the fourth step, my nightmare came true. The kitty, who was very needy, came through, and as soon as it was there, I wasn't able to stop her. She ran right past me and then launched herself off of this. You can still see her footprints, and just caved in all of the edges and just like wrecked it. Luckily she aimed for the arch up there, so she would have totally taken out that step too. And she's still up there. Hopefully she doesn't come back down this way. But I tried to repair it as best I could. It's impressive that it actually held her weight as she launched herself off of it, as opposed to just caving in. But I guess a couple of the sides are in there pretty well, plus that hammer is helping. But regardless, hopefully that'll be a good enough first coat. And that one's like pretty darn sketch how I did it, but hopefully it's close enough to level that I can then bend the lath and then add more lath and get the rest of that step level. And I didn't even try to get up to the last one, but I figured if I could get full coverage on this one, then I can work my way up the steps and then get access to that probably tomorrow. Hopefully she doesn't come back down and wreck it again. Next up is that form there, or the back of where that form was, and I already prepped that, so I'll get some really good coverage on that. Probably 2 coats in a single batch, as long as the ladder holds. That's after 1 bucket, so coverage on everything except for the very top. But I'm going to wait a bit before adding more, because some of the stuff on the right is pretty thick, like around the corner, so I need some of that to set up pretty well. So on to the next Ferrocement feature. So by the last bucket of the batch, it is pretty much done. I'll move the ladder on to the next section over there. It's going to be a little difficult though, because there's all these things and the ground's not level, but I will attempt to. But all done for mortar for now. You made your mark today, naughty girl. Launching off that wet staircase. You've got action in motion, solidified in stone. Basically fossilized kitty. But she's healthy. Oh boy. What's she doing? Ah, kitty's scared. Baby girl, you alright? Jump on the table. You scared the kitty away. Hey, come back here. Come here. Brave girl. Yeah. She brave. She brave, she brave. Alright, come over here and see this brave girl. There she is. Yeah, alright. What is he doing? There you go. Good kitty. You baby girl. You good girl. I never want to in my hair. You couple of attention whores. Here's the kitty claw marks, or paw marks. There's kind of a claw mark over here. I think she pushed off the wall, jumped up there, launched herself up, So this is all solid now. And I haven't checked the level, but it basically just made this W a little bit deeper, deformed a little bit of stuff, but it's only basically the first coat on there. So with extra coats, it won't make a difference, and the kitty prints will be gone, just recorded in the history of the video. So stair number 4, I don't know if I'm going to get to mortar today, but stair number 4 has basically full coverage. I just need to get one more coat on top and bottom, and then that one will be usable the following day. This one I need to add a little bit of lath to fill in the gaps, but I got some coverage on the areas that it was closest to level, and then I can just adjust the lath, and then there's none on that one. And that might be the end of the stairs. It might not make sense to put another stair in where the slope is really shallow. So I'm trying to decide if I should, I guess the question is if there's enough metal surfaces for mortar, and there is, and then it's a question of whether, if it's going to rain or not. There's 2 types of days on campaign season: steel days and cement days. Today's a steel day. Steel days entail envisioning what things and building the shapes of things and what they'll be like. This will be a tunnel, secret passage way, nook, water drain feature. I've got it all covered with metal, and it'll also protect the drain in the winter from snow. And it'll have a secret door in it that no one will know about. And all the lath is pretty much covered. I just don't know. I gotta wait for a rock day. Maybe that's it. Steel days and rock days. Something like that. For to rock the steel. For to rock the steel shall be. Doesn't that look like an emu? It's like it's back. It's like a camel, or maybe it's a giraffe. Like a long old head over there. Okay, metal work up here is pretty much done. After the batch on Saturday, the step number 4 has good coverage on top and bottom, and then this is the new step, which got coverage out to most of it. All that stuff is to weight it down so that it gets more level, and I got just a little bit of mortar on that top step, both in the back and then on the sides. And now I'm going to see if I can't finish undercoating all of this. I got the ladder over here, and I should have access to most of it now. See how that goes. I'm putting it off for a long time. Here's the feature from above after the first batch. And 2 buckets went to the undercoating. So I got 2 buckets left from this batch to add to this little feature here. So after 2 additional buckets, it's got more than 50% coverage. I'm going to cut the lath a little bit back. Tunnel. Gotta have tunnels and castles. Sunday morning, I was able to finish undercoating all of that yesterday, so that's really nice to have it completed. I'll just have to water that throughout today so it can cure well. And 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm on stair number 5 now. I should be able to walk on stair number 4. I'm about to do a batch of mortar, so I'll get really good coverage on stair number 5, and then some more coverage on stair 6 there, and then probably like a little more undercoating on that just to be extra sure. And then I'll move on to that other feature over there that I showed you yesterday evening up top over there. So half of the first batch of the day went on the stairs, undercoating, above and undercoating, and then stair 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, no, this is 5. Now it's full coverage, undercoating on most of it except for the new area, and then stair 6 has pretty good coverage on it, and I cut the long sort of tail off and put it on the two edges to be able to get full coverage in there. The last one has the shortest rise to it because the arch starts leveling out, and that might be the last stair. Hopefully by the end of the day I can get full coverage on it and get enough extra coverage on that 5th stair so that it will be walkable tomorrow as well. And either tomorrow or the next day I can be back up top with a decent set of stairs that won't tax me so much trying to get mortar up there. And the next 2 buckets will go on that other feature through the tunnel. So in fisheye view, after 2 coats, this tunnel section is largely covered. There's just the open space up here, which I'm going to want to put some kind of ring up there to be able to hang a light in here, so that this can be a useful little kind of like reading nook, cuddle corner type situation here. And then I've just got a little bit more to fill on the top once I can get like a ring in there. And then I'm going to cut that back on one side, a little bit more on the right side. And yeah, so it'll take several more buckets, but I'm happy with how this little feature here is turning out. And it's a good little side project while the stairs are going, and to put my excess buckets after doing the stairs into. Monday morning, and this feature now has full coverage. I just have to do a bit more to get the undercoating over there and over there. I'll show you what it looks like on the outside. And so we're up here. There's the motor Stark tower. So on the outside, it comes up to below this line, which is nice. That's how I wanted it. So that's what makes it secret hidden tunnel. And it's got a second coat on just about all of it on the outside, except for the fresh stuff, which also needs the undercoating on the inside. So you can see right there near the tip, and then right there in the kind of joining section, need a above and below coat on both of those. I cut it back further so you can easily kind of get up going that direction on that side if you wanted. And so I'm stepping on this, even though it's, well, I guess it was basically yesterday's got full coverage, but it's super solid now. So I just got to make sure that the drains on either side of the little tunnel thing drain down to the middle, and then I'll end up setting up the drain in there, this drain, which I shouldn't have actually cut, but setting it up to drain out the hole there. And there'll have to be like a sidewall in there to put a little door in, and that the drain will be mounted in like a dam for the drain basin right there. But I'm not in a rush to do that, because I want to probably get like the dome on this before I set up kind of the drain in there, because water can get up in the air from the other side as well. So I'm going to start today by bending some metal, specifically on the, I'm going to start with the door part. You can't really see it, but on the far side of the counter there where the door will be mounted, that's where I'm going to start. And then once I can get that arch, hopefully I can figure out the rest of the height of the dome and everything. So with an arch up there, it is way too tall. So I want to adjust that down to be basically the minimum necessary height to be able to put that, I think it's like a standard glass door in there. And right now it's probably like almost 2 feet too tall, so it's super sketchy getting up there in the first place, and then being on the step stool on the counter with like maybe a 20-foot drop on the other side with hazards and stuff. But I gotta set this arch, and then I can work off of that, I think. So I've got the beginning of a shape. I've got the arch, which creates the line, and I've got it to roughly the height that makes sense. So that'll basically, the top of the arch will basically be the top of the dome, roughly. And now the idea is to put a line of remesh on so that the top of it is level horizontally, like going towards what will be the center of the dome. And so that's what I got so far on that point, which that seems good. I've got the arch tensioned to keep the verticals roughly level, and the difficulty now is figuring out the line on the far side where the remesh intersects those other two pieces of rebar, as well as that standing column of remesh, because it hits metal. I have to cut something to make it work, and it'll be interesting how those lines kind of come together up top. So that's as far as I could get. It gets complicated there. And so I think what I'm going to do now is try to get some lath on this remesh that's in a good position, and set some forms up, and then be able to get some coverage on this when I make a batch of mortar. The primary is still the stairs, to get these stairs all situated. That one just has a little hole in it now. I want to finish the stair thing, and I want to finish this tunnel situation, minus the drain, but just the Ferrocement part of the outer layer, the above and the underneath of the new stuff there. So between those two, that's about half of a batch, perhaps. 2 buckets probably. So I want to get enough lath on this to be able to get the rest of that batch on. So that's what I'm gonna prep over here. Over here you can see what this transition is looking like. So on the left, right near where my middle finger is, there's the one, and then there's the other one right over there, and then one of them is right here. It's just covered, but those are just little hooks. The two on the right are actually like little screwdrivers sent with like rakes from China, where there's like a triangle in the end of the screwdriver, and so I'm using those as little hooks. And then that one is a piece from a come along, and then you can also just kind of see how bending some of the metal, and the next coat will cover all that stuff up except for those 3 hook things. At some point I'll probably fill that hole, but I'm trying to figure out something to do with the flagpole in relation to that, and I don't know my plan yet. Check it out, all prepped for mortar on this column, that column, and that wall, and got it tensioned with the strap over there, with a line over here, with that 2x4 sort of pushing on it to try to keep that column square. And then this one is tensioned with that wire pulling it in, and then that one should be all good. So another thing I did was add a piece of rebar over here, and this is going to be like a little mini porch because there's going to be the door there. So this will be able to, like, you could walk out and then you can see where can you see where the pieces of rebar are for the arch and the other side of the arch? So that if you're up here, that'll get you over to the arch feature. And then the roof up there will extend to give a bit of precipitation blockage for the little porch feature. So I should be able to get a good bit of mortar on this to get that column started, and then on these 2 walls. But the priority is the stairs. So the first stuff goes into the stairs, and then the next 3+ buckets should probably go over here. We'll see how it goes. So I got 1 bucket on the stairs, and then I just got the first bucket on this feature, and I'm flabbergasted. It is real now. It's like I just kind of created it, and then the mortar, it's real now. And now it's just it just hardens into place for basically a whole month if it cures properly, but at the very least like a week or something, it just becomes harder and more real, and it's like it's all there now. And I don't know, it's like surreal, really, to see this come together long, and it's just high up there and narrow, and it's so flimsy right now, but it's gonna be so strong, and I just love the transformation. And that's just 1 bucket. This becomes like a super strong ferrocement pillar. 1 bucket of mortar. It's just so fascinating. Anyways, so over here, this is anchoring down. I'll go back to normal view. Anchoring down this piece of rebar on this side, because it's only got 1 foot, and it ties into this little kind of like bent wall. And then over here it bends all the way around, and it's at like a little bit of an angle because of what it's on. So anyways, that's anchored in on that side. The next bucket, I'll get this one anchored in. I'm not sure exactly what I'm going to do on this corner, actually. And it doesn't get all the way into like level with the wall. But anyways, the next 2 buckets, it'll probably be 1 on that wall and 1 on this wall. And if I can connect them at all, which I'm not sure if I can, because that the way the lath is over here, you can see it doesn't even connect. It's all just kind of like, it's bent on the edge and kind of loose. But any of that I can connect one wall to the other will be structurally like super strengthening this whole piece. So independently they're weak, but as soon as they're connected in the corner, they are strong. So on to buckets 3 and 4 for this. So there it is with 2 more buckets. Got a good bit on the bottom, pretty much covered up the rest of that one form that you can see jutting out to the right. And then just about all that with enough in the corner that it will be pretty darn solid once it all cures. Check out the staircase. I had a vacation this morning because of the rain. Slept till noon. It's been great. See if I can get a final batch of mortar on that top stair, and then get another coat on this column, which is up to there, and really get this rebar here fully anchored in, and then enough on this form to be able to pull that form, and then get full coverage on the part of this form underneath this wire, which once that's all mortared there, then I can take that wire down, which is pulling that wall into the kind of level that I want it. But I just really like the staircase. Oh no, the barbarians. They're testing the borders. They tried to break in. That one's so cute. It's like, not us. I'm recycling broken hog panel things, or cattle panels, or whatever they're called. But ones that are all bent and broken and stuff. And I'm barricading this tree line so the barbarians don't break in. I just moved this one right here that's right in front of me, because they were all just right there, and surprisingly only staying out because of less than a strand of less than knee-high barbed wire. But they're all good friendly boys. It's just good to have clear boundaries, otherwise they'll all be in here making a mess. I made a little custom clamp there with some of that stainless steel rebar tie, and made like little spring things so that the screw can secure that rebar to the top of the form there. And so I had to wrestle with that piece of lath with a screw gun in hand on this step stool on the edge of this. This step stool has already broken. It's just holding together like that. It also tips like in certain conditions, and this is the drop on that side. So that was somewhat terrifying, but I got that on so that I can now go up basically to the top of the form. And I think I have an idea of how these things will work together now. It's not for certain, and I still don't know the arc of the roof there. But I think I'm just going to do another arch over this door, and then I'll end up connecting the tops of the arches with rebar or something along those lines. So I wrestled with the shape a little bit and got some more rebar up. So there's a vertical one that goes 90. Then this one's a vertical one that arches. And then there's a horizontal one that connects the 90 to the arch, to the other arch, kind of crudely. But that should be hidden, how that one straight piece of rebar intersects the arch. And then basically just kind of did all sorts of stuff in that corner. So that corner is now pretty good. And that remesh shape is essentially very close to the dome now. And then I got a form on that, which is still bending out more. I want it to be kind of straight, so I'm going to have to tie that with one more piece of metal before I mortar. And then the idea is that that's going to like intersect a shape like this, or piece of remesh, like a dome coming off of that wall, which will be more straight. And then they'll kind of come together up there, and that sidewall will be kind of like a vertical. It'll just be sort of tied in, sort of. And so anyways, I'm close to being able to do a batch of mortar and basically get that corner all the way up to, I think that's good how it is. And then I'm figuring out these other kind of window sections with the rebar, so I can really start to find an end point. I'm not going to be able to get up on the roof from this side, so I'm going to have to work the metal. This is probably like the far side. I'm probably going to have to work the metal all the way over backwards to figure out where a staircase will go, so that I can get roof access. So there may be a lot of metal work to do before I can actually get to the dome itself, because I won't be able to get up there. At the end of the day, Wednesday, did a bunch of metal work, and now have some sort of semblance of a dome, or the shape at least, coming together. I'll still have to mold it, but I'm getting the material up there. Hey, check it out. Grizzly's got her chickies on the roost for the first time. They're not in their little box anymore. She's got one under a wing and the other one right there. I have to get the roosters off the roost though, so they don't make noise too early in the morning. And we've got a big maple that I cut down that was in the way of the Molly Stark Tower. That is the boys' snack food in here. Good night, girls. Let's see if we got any eggs. Wisdom here has been sitting on eggs for at least 2 weeks. Oh my gosh, look at all those eggs. Alright, jackpot. So by Thursday afternoon, the stairs are all usable. The top one needs a little bit shaping, a little bit of shaping, but it's usable. And I've started to do some forms up here. I was really wrestling with the idea of putting a window in on this wall, and I have that arch there, but currently I'm going with no window on that wall, even though that's south facing. And I might put a window in the top of that one, or maybe one in the top of that one, or I don't really know. I might like leave spaces that you could then frame windows in, but it's a tough call to make, really, how open to make it. Windows, no windows, but I'm thinking I'm just gonna go right over that, just have all that solid wall. I'm gonna get some lath on all of that. You'll see if that idea changes. Get a second coat on that. So this year the forms have been removed on that wall, and then on this wall, or this pillar here as well, the forms are removed, and it's just, I don't know if you can see that, but it's just the stone column there now. It just has the form on the right side. And so, well, it's raining, and depending on the weather, I want to do a batch of mortar, and then I would be able to get a second coat on that, which would be enough to pull that whole form, so that whole column would be standing on its own. But I'm trying to get enough prepped up here so I can put a full batch up here, as opposed to, because now I don't have other surfaces kind of to put it on. Over here I did this piece of rebar to anchor in that corner, going that way, and then I've got that strap pulling that corner into anchor. So the idea was to get that corner fortified and then work out of that fortified corner towards over there. And then I'm thinking there's going to be an arch from here over to there, once I can get basically it kind of like anchored in a little bit and make sure I know what I'm doing. And then that arch will intersect that remesh, which is basically by its own weight kind of draping, is kind of making the shape. And I'm kind of guiding the shape just by tying one piece of remesh to the next, and then kind of like draping it over and letting the weight do the thing. So that's currently what I'm thinking. I don't know how much more I'll be able to get to do today, but lots of progress. And then over here, I don't know if this is how it's gonna go, but I've been kind of thinking like maybe a staircase would go there. It's like, I don't know exactly how you would be getting to the bottom of this staircase. Kind of like there's not a clear way to get up to that door there. Like, to climb up that is pretty high. But this might be kind of like, it would make sense because that's like unused space and it's going in the same direction as the other staircase to be able to get up onto the domed roof, because it'll end up being crenellated and it'll be like a lookout or whatever. So that's where everything is. There might not be too much more to update because this is the afternoon. It's rainy on a Thursday. But if that's everything, then thanks for tuning in. It's been a long episode. And we'll get to the dome next week. By the afternoon, it's about to rain. I got a rebar arch in from there over to there. So that gives the remesh that was getting floppy in the middle, gives it shape, and gives me two kind of reinforcing areas, like one of them in between the arch and then the side wall there, which will kind of be like just reinforcement for the dome. And just doing lots of prep work. I got lath on this whole section and might put up another form, but probably gonna have breakfast first. And we'll see if the rain allows for any mortar. Over here, I'm not putting any remesh in this column. It's just a lath column with one piece of rebar at the crease. And then I use 3 different 2x4s just along the edges to make sure the edges are straight. And I'll use those as forms and kind of like maybe smear the area in between the 2x4 and the rebar and see if I can get coverage on that. But it might not be today. We'll see. I'll give you the whole zoomed out view. One issue with being too close to this tree is that with a big gust of wind, it blows that right into my metal. I was trying not to cut that branch, but luckily for now, the metal isn't mortared in, so it has a lot of give. So even if it gets whacked by the tree, it'll just recover. But it looks like I'll end up having to cut back a little bit more than I had hoped. So by Thursday evening, the stairs are all done and walkable. And I got one batch on all this new formwork that I put up. I was thinking about going for a second batch, but best to take my time. And sometimes it's hard to gauge the amount of weight that's being held and what it's being held on before the mortar cures. And it can be more precarious than it looks until it cures, and then it's bearing its own weight. So I was going to get a second coat up there so I could pull that form, but I ended up making the last bucket too wet. So I put it on this countertop and over here because it's all goopy. And I got to start on that corner, which is very important structurally, and this corner as well, which is also very important structurally. And it'll probably take one more coat before I can remove that ratchet strap. And I might be able to do some more metal work to prep. Maybe see about getting a line of mortar across that arch. But lots of different surfaces to work on, and we tackling the beginnings of the dome, I believe, in the next episode. But that's all for this episode. Basically raising the walls up here, finishing the super secret snuggle tunnel, and then finishing the stairs over here. So that's all for this week. Thanks for tuning in. Maybe I'll see you next week. Evening showers while there's sunshine coming in from at a low angle. The garlic there is escaping. I've been eating the scapes with all of my egg meals. It's been amazing. Beautiful lighting. Wanted to share it with you. Nice little summer shower.